Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Smudcast number 647, the Trope Talk. Those dang phones. That is a trope I've never heard of, and in case you haven't figured it out, this is from Red of that wonderful channel, whose name suddenly escapes me, Overly Sarcastic Productions, and this just came out this month. So I've never heard specifically of this trope. I do have many patterns in storytelling, and I'm sure you guys have seen many shows or read some books where you're like, hey, why don't they just pick up the phone and call? Or, wow, they got amazing phone reception in this area. Or, how come they can't make a phone call right now? I think it's along those areas. I hope. Other than that, I have no idea what we're talking about here. But according to the description and some of the comments in the video, it sounds as if it's going to be a history lesson of talking or remotely communicating with people before the age of cell phones and how that came about. And, probably Star Trek is going to be popping up maybe. So I don't know exactly what we're getting into, but it is a long video. So there's no way we're getting through it, but we're going to try.
Is of course you haven't heard of it because it's probably another one she made up, like the others that she probably even wrote the TV trope pages for, and then referenced her video as the only reference or something.
It is possible she's grouping them all together, like the plot device where something's about to happen, but there's a phone call, or if this would have been resolved, if only we can get through the interference to our spaceship, but no, we can't. So like, there's all those tropes sort of make up the same plot device pattern where it's like, oh, this interrupts you, or you can't do a communication. So that's what my brain is at, but I don't know exactly what we're going to be covering. So it's kind of fun for me. Maybe I'll learn something. That'll be great. But it is 33 minutes long, so obviously we're not even going to cover half of that today. And if it just goes into a history lesson of like Bell and the radio,
why would she do that? What's that to do with tropes?
I don't know.
Look, she's run out of tropes to talk about, and now we have women talking about phones because women can't talk on the phone because it's a stream about something. Women talking about phones, it's a favorite thing.
Yeah, if it's like maybe getting into Star Trek, they promoted the idea of having telecommunications remotely and all this wonderful teleportation, and you could have interference. Like that's like, okay, great. You're setting it up for the future of telecom and how we did science fiction, how that might look. So that's kind of cool. I wouldn't mind seeing something like that, and how there's patterns in certain stories that work very well, some which are cheesy, some which are silly. And then you look at all the, shows in the 90s before the age of mobile devices until the 2000s, where it's like, oh, wow, if only Friends was done in the 2000s or the late 2000s, or if Seinfeld was done in the late 2000s, like you get all these, like, jokes would not work if Jerry actually had a cell phone, or why doesn't Jerry have a cell phone, or all these sort of things going on. So stuff like that would probably be a good discussion about lifestyle and the scenarios, because you couldn't write Seinfeld at the time it was written in Japan. Everyone had a pager. Like everyone, even high schoolers had a pager. I remember. This is a dumb one. If you guys ever watched Vision of Escaflowne,
yeah,
I can't remember which episode it was, but I think Vaughn, Hitomi, and Merle, the cat girl, Merle, whatever. Yeah. So they I don't know. They attacked some mining Zybok thing, some mining facility.
That's the one with the creepy snake.
The creepy snake, exactly. The snake's about to bite Hitomi, and her pager goes off. It's like, wait a second, she's in an alternate world. There's no way she's getting pager signals from Earth.
Look, smart. Reception works everywhere, even in alternate dimensions, except in Germany.
Oh yeah, Japanese tech doesn't work in Germany.
The only place where you can to this day make believable plots about not having reception is Germany.
Oh yeah. Okay, great. Well,
Yeah, I'm not kidding. We're like Africa in 1980.
Well, the funny thing about this scenario is the person who was holding the pager was Merle, and she was hiding somewhere. So they didn't even need the pager to make a noise. All Merle had to do was make a distraction to cause Vaughn to escape and whatever. Like, it was so silly. I was like, what is this stupid? Like, who cares? Like, why even do that and break all this psych physics and
It's
continuity?
just to remind you that she came from another world.
And teenagers in Japan in the 90s all had pagers. It's like, what the hell?
I think we skipped pages in Germany entirely.
Really?
We only know they exist from emergency room.
I saw them in the 90s with executives a lot, like people going downtown. They would have a pager. They'd be at lunch. They get a page, and they oh, I gotta go. They stop their lunch, and off they went. I do know the medical profession still has them, and then that slowly went to Blackberries originally were invented for the blind and deaf, so they would have different devices for the blind and deaf, and they were technically pagers.
Oh, that's why they have proper keyboards.
That I guess so. I don't know exactly how they evolved, but they got destroyed by the smartphone industry, obviously. But they were the big thing because everyone just naturally went to email, and then BlackBerry made its own email system and all this other crap. So it was normal. It was natural for us to go from pagers to QWERTY keyboards on our devices, then flip phones and all kinds of smart devices. Anyway, that's off topic.
I remember in Germany in the 90s, because very few people had mobile phones then. This was just the super expensive new technology. You could hire services to call you at random times or at specified times, just so your mobile phone would go off, so you seemed important. Because barely anyone had a mobile phone then, so they never went off, and people hoped that, I hope my mobile phone rings so people can see I'm using a mobile phone.
That's the same idea.
And now the fucking things don't stop anymore.
That's the same concept with teachers and email. Whenever teachers got their email going, like they would go on break or they'd go for lunch, like, let me check my email. And it's whatever company, the school board or whatever, giving a company-wide broadcast. It's like, ooh, someone's messaging me, and I could write back. It's like, that was a thing that was a big deal back in the 2000s. So,
I think our teachers were just too stupid to use that stuff.
They still are. They don't know.
Yeah, of course.
They don't only know their field. Most people that go into education, they only know what they know.
Oh God, there's German schools who do school-wide, not elections, but votes. And we have one here in my town, and the system is complete crap because they basically DDoS themselves every time they do it.
Really?
So they have really weak Wi-Fi infrastructure, and so all the students have tablets, which I find horrible. But then they do votes on stuff regarding the school, and they do it all at the same time. And so the 2,000 students doing the vote on some stupid issue with a yes or no thing at the same time crashes the system.
What?
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
All right. Okay,
German
guys.
school IT.
Ready to go. We got 30, God knows how long minutes of this. So here we go.
How you doing? How's your day been? Oh, interesting.
Go away.
So here's something to consider. I, the person currently speaking to you and flagrantly encouraging parasociality, am not really here. I mean, I'm somewhere, probably napping or thinking about space, but I'm not here right now, speaking to you. What you're seeing is
It's called a recording.
Reds, please stop.
Deep, huh? Very deep. Blowing my mind.
It's not me that's talking to you. It's the echo of myself from the past. Yeah, Red, I know what a video is.
When
Please
you- when
get to
you-
the actual topic.
When you hear this
What
message,
is it?
I will be doing something else aside from what you're listening to. It's like, thank you. Yeah.
I would
Is
be
this
masturbating whilst
1960s?
you're watching this.
Is this 1960s an Alfred Hitchcock introduction?
You have a magnetic tape recorder? Wow, I never knew I could use those too. Okay. Anyway.
saved to a storage device.
She drew a picture. Oh
Servers,
my god.
Yep.
And that's just one of the many forms of extremely impressive high-tech telecommunication we've gotten totally used to, despite that being absolutely wild when you think about it.
No,
The
it's
words
not.
I said in a cozy recording booth weeks or months or even years ago have been wound up and frozen in time by a large amount of extremely complicated technology latticed across
it's
thousands of
not
miles
that
with a chain of
complicated.
developmental history reaching back centuries.
We've had that for over half a century.
This is not.
If we go back to the gramophone, when was that?
Oh god. 1800s maybe?
Let me check. Gramophone. 1887.
Yeah, no, the technology of the microphone is the exact same as the speaker. It's just the opposite direction the signal's going. This is really not complicated. The only difference is information tech has evolved to produce digital hardware. That's it.
Oh my god. Smud. Do you know what also records things and that you can then read as if it's right, as if it was done right away? Right now?
Stone tablets?
Yes!
Oh my god!
Exactly! Yes! We were on a wavelength here. You knew exactly what I was getting at. Wow.
I think there's also a 4-note forum for music, and we can record noises. It's amazing.
If we really think about it, pictures are just recordings of the past. Isn't that wild, guys?
Oh my god, drawings! I could draw things, and that you could put them in your book, and you could open the book, and they're still there. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, you're leaving a message from the past into the future. Is this just mind-boggling?
Man, can you imagine Egyptians graffitiing on a big stone at some rock in the desert? I was here.
Pretty soon, we're going to be having movies on airplanes or something. It's going to be amazing.
I'm just imagining Red just staring at some of the graffiti in Rome next to some of the brothels, like, I screwed the barmaid, going, wow, look, the future.
Jeff loves Maria. Oh my god, it's still there. All right, here we go.
Spooling, creating the illusion of communication even though you and I are nowhere near each other in space or in time.
Oh my
Of course, there's a reason we
God.
aren't constantly losing our minds about the wondrous technological advancements that surround us. Normalcy is a completely relative concept, and people are extremely good at adapting to new developments and absorbing them into their concept of normal. If you've lived with something for long enough, it becomes an established fact of your reality, and you see it as normal and thus not worth thinking about too hard, no matter how buck-wild it might actually be on closer examination. But because of how good we are at seeing things as
Like
normal, it's
harnessing
actually very
fire.
useful to sometimes take a step back and look at the world around us with fresh eyes, to see what factors are invisibly shaping.
Are you guys? I cannot believe how dumb I just got in the past 20 seconds. She's saying nothing. Hey guys, take a step back and look at reality. It's complicated. Wow. If you didn't think about it's like, yes, Red.
Look at the amazing things we have invented. What if an alien from the past came to the present? Whoa, that's a story that's never been done.
Let me just pull up here to give you an example. So I am looking at an Alesto peanuts roasted in a salted big bag. This is not something I could produce on my own. It's something that took hundreds, and if not thousands of hours of technological advancement to reach the point where a normie like me can just go out into the shop and buy this.
Yeah, you could
I
go.
don't have to spend any amount of time to think about how complicated it would be to actually have to hold this in my hand.
Yeah, just
This is not something I need to dedicate hours and hours of my time to think about.
we can go as basic as like furniture, like processing wood, treating it, shaping it, hammering it together. Yeah, that takes hours, days, weeks, all kinds of years to grow the tree. We get it, Red. Life is complex. We need specialists. Get on with it, please.
Our lives. It came to landscape we inhabit. And as new things enter those spaces and then become normal and thus invisible, we can be changed without even noticing it. For instance, have you noticed how many stories have magic cell phones now? Let me explain. Communication is a crucial element of storytelling, not just on a meta level, in that all storytelling is technically a form of communication from the teller to the audience, but within the structure of the story, characters being able or unable to communicate is a huge factor on the plot.
Within the structure? What the hell does that mean? Within the structure of the story? Chapter 1, Chapter 2? Well, Chapter 3, we're going to have a dialogue scene.
Wait, is that fucking Gallivant?
Yeah, that is Gallivant.
God damn it.
That's a beautiful picture of all the series of reference about phones in fantasy. You pick fucking Gallivant.
Because the phone analogy is so strong in this one, where the crystal ball is an actual cell phone that has cell phone issues, like connection problems, where you have to hold it upright in the right way to get a connection back. That's fun. That's funny in Gallivant. The thing is, in all of fantasy and science fiction, remote communication has always been a thing. Every scrying spell is basically that. All that we have now is that we are aware, or can be aware, that basically we have bugs everywhere. The eavesdrop bugs that Secret Services would plant on you, but we just happily carry them around with us now. And the thing with communication between characters, and that scene from Gallivant is also relatively good at that, is the miscommunication. I hate plots like that solely rely on characters not saying that one line for 3 seasons, where they just don't exchange that one piece of information that clears the entire problem up. And I'm not alone with that. And that is way more interesting of a trope to talk about, because it's plot contrivance. It's the plot happens because the characters don't exchange basic information for some reason of embarrassment or whatnot, even though months are passing where they're traveling together through the forest or something. That's something I'd like to talk about, not this bullshit.
Well,
and can you then retroactively salvage that? Like saying, oh yeah, they had a reason for keeping it secret or something like that.
Well, the funniest thing just happened on my phone. I got a notification that the executive of Anheuser-Busch, I think, the beer guy,
oh god,
regarding the Bud Light fiasco,
he
apologized. He didn't know that he was going to lose $5 billion. So
Hey, guys,
they're pulling. I read this morning that the company is trying to pull a plausible deniability thing of, no one on the board knew about any of this. It's not our fault. Like, her head will roll, but we had no idea.
That's great. That made me smile, because I totally forgot what she was talking about, because it was so stupid. And this just popped up after a week of that stupid event happening. Wow. Just great storytelling right there. Good stuff. We lost billions of dollars. I'm so sorry. Oh, that's great. Anyway.
I thought this would make us more money.
I wanted to make money, not lose it. Oh, so you appealed to the 1% of the people who don't even drink your beer. That's fantastic. Okay, that's great.
Not even. It's even worse.
Yeah.
It's so much worse.
It's hilarious. Anyway, let's keep going.
Obviously, miscommunication plots naturally rely on the characters having an imperfect mode of communication with each other, mishearing or misunderstanding or only getting a fraction of the information they need. Dramatic irony is a metatrope that relies on the audience having information that the characters don't,
no,
frequently resulting in situations where the audience is rooting for the characters to communicate that information with each other and stop acting unwisely based on their incomplete knowledge. Overall, a lot of plots rely on the characters having incomplete information about the story they're in, and one way to facilitate this is to...
Okay, how wide are we spreading this theoretical net, saying that fucking Jaws is as a result of lacking information?
Yeah, this is...
They know about the fucking shark by the first time that a corpse comes up to shore.
Didn't the beach have a warning sign?
Yes, it did! And the whole point of the movie is no, they have to keep pushing because otherwise they're gonna lose money. They know the danger. They are well aware of the danger. They don't care.
This is like
Until-
saying, like Columbo is meta narrative because we know who the murderer is, and Columbo doesn't. Therefore, we're rooting. Like it's just how the story's told. It has nothing to do with your perception of the events. You don't know what Columbo's going to do. You don't know what the murderer is going to do. You have no clue.
I mean, it's more fun seeing how he tries to solve it.
Yeah, it's entertaining to see his personality and his methods. That's why you watch the show. It's not because, oh, I'm a genius just like Columbo. It's like, no, you sit back, relax, have a beer, and watch Columbo be entertaining. That's the show. It's a reverse murder mystery. That's the point. Anyway, just keep going. This is so pointless. God004, thank you for the, was it $2? Thank you. Oh, wait, that's $3. I had to zoom in there. This woman is just telling me to not date psych majors.
I agree.
Some psych majors are nice. I was a psych major. I wasn't crazy.
I thought it was just a side gig for you.
A psychic major?
I don't think he was referring to dating you.
Well, no, I'm just saying not everyone that goes to psychology is crazy.
Smart. Like in my experience, about 2 to 5% of psychotherapists are worthwhile. The rest are crazy and should be patients instead. So I would agree with Gore.
I'd say a third of them are just in psych to figure out what's wrong with them.
Yes, there should be patients. They can't help anyone.
Yeah, so that's fair if you want to learn about yourself and because you just grew out of high school, so you're 18, 19. That's fine. But if you don't figure that out by the time you're in second year, I mean, what the hell are you doing? So. But I don't know. This Red is just rambling at this point, and we were trying to catch up with her.
At this point?
I don't know what she's talking about.
She didn't even... She never stopped. There was the last video we covered, and she was rambling. And now the next one started, and she was still rambling. It's like she never stopped.
Okay. Something about narrative. As good as I get.
Telephones.
Tyler.
Limit the amount of information and communicate. Missing or been captured or injured, the drama comes from trying to find and retrieve them when they naturally can't communicate where they are. Stress and fear can be provoked if the characters don't know for sure that another character is all right, or even if they're alive. And all of this hinges on the characters being unable to perfectly communicate at all times. And fortunately for the writers, just like in real life, if the characters aren't physically right next to each other or broadly within earshot, it's generally expected that they won't be able to communicate without the use of some form of long-distance communication technology. And if
Please, just get to the point.
Justified. In those cases, it's at least justified that there's plot because of miscommunication or lack of communication. These plots are always shit because that's never the reason.
Yeah, that's so specific.
The reason is always the characters all together, and they're not saying the one important thing for plot.
Yeah, you could break this down into like maybe the romance genre does this a lot because people in love are miscommunicating all the time, and that's fair, but not in general.
At least they're embarrassed all the time. Then.
Yeah,
but there are adventure plots with that, and it's just say it. Yeah. Just tell them what the fucking problem is.
This is like, I mean, we can go back to any comedy by Shakespeare. Like the majority of conflicts are someone says something like "I love you," or someone's bewitched and they say "I hate you," and you're like, "Oh my God, why do you hate me? I'm gonna go kill myself." And you're like, "Oh no, it wasn't me. I really do love you, but you said this, but no, I was bewitched." Like all this back and forth. That's normal. That's fine. That's drama, but not every freaking story. Narrow it down. Oh, miscommunication. Okay, sure.
I wish I could remember actual examples. But I always try to immediately forget this garbage. It pisses me off so much.
So inconsequential. If you guys are thinking in terms of miscommunication for distance, like I don't know, maybe there's a signal loss, like you're on the phone or something and it's getting cut off, like maybe, but I don't think that's a big problem in storytelling or a pattern I've seen that much. Weird stuff. Okay, whatever.
Easy to facilitate miscommunication or limited are out of communication, they by necessity act in isolation since they can't coordinate with each other. They don't know for sure what the other character's situation is or what they're doing, and a lot of drama can result from that, like if the backup gets ambushed or someone gets betrayed at a crucial moment and nobody realizes till the plan's already halfway fallen apart. So many plots have been facilitated by characters not being able to call for help or contact authorities. As a rule, in most standard story structures, unless a character explicitly has an ability or technology that'll allow them to send a message long distance, characters are expected to be isolated unless they are physically in the presence of their
Fuck me, just get to the point!
I would not call this a trope.
This is retarded.
This is just normal. This is just human communication basics.
Yeah.
This isn't even about phones.
This is like Party A doesn't know what Party B is doing in Scene 1 and Scene 2. It's like, oh, drama. No, there's no drama at all. No one knows what's going on. How could there be drama?
Okay.
Oh look, this is how reality works. Wow, much clap.
Even within this broad ass net that she has thrown, where unless they are like in physical, like eyesight of one another, then they need a phone. Have you ever been on a fucking staircase and one of your friends calls you a dickhead from the top of the stairs?
No.
This is like, even look at Romeo and Juliet. The dumbest thing was Juliet didn't pay attention to what the hell happened to Romeo's heart. So she thought he died. Oh, okay, I'll kill myself. Great, thanks, Juliet. It's great. It's stupid.
Woman moment.
It's stupid and annoying. So physically separate, that's not drama. There's no. If they don't realize what's going on, that means Scene 1 happened, then Scene 2. Scene 1, everyone dies. Scene 2, everyone dies. The end. That's not drama. That's stupid. Scene 1, nothing happens. Scene 2, nothing happens. Where's the drama? Tell me. Like, this is so. Like, what is she trying to say here? Drama could happen when two people are away. It's like, how?
Because the other person can't tell the person that has a problem the solution to the problem.
It could be,
and the drama is the tension of just when can person A tell person B the solution to the problem so that it doesn't get worse and worse. My god,
that's just expectations on the audience. Like when we see any tragedy, like by Puccini, the firing squad. Oh, don't worry, they're all using blanks. Don't worry about it. I'll be fine. Da 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 da. Boom! He actually really dies, and she's like waiting, and it just ends. You're like, oh my god! It did what? Like, we don't know what happened. Like, she's like, that's just on the audience. That's not drama within the characters. They don't know what's going on. This is silly.
Oh, you know what the super hyper meta trope is?
The super meta trope.
It's when the plot is that the heroes find out the evil plot of the villain and record it and then play it to the public on something, and somehow everyone believes it, and then the world is saved.
Yeah, this is, I don't know what she's doing. This is weird.
It's horrible.
Allies. And for the vast majority of human history, this was normal. This was the expected state of being. Unless someone was actively choosing to be in communication with someone else, they were alone. But normal has changed. The march of progress in telecommunications technology
I am not
has
reading all
implemented
that.
our concept of what level of communication is normal. It's impossible to find reliable statistics on how many people in the world have access to cell phones and cell networks. Trust me, I tried. But at the bare minimum, we know it's more people than have ever had access to cell phones.
Germany is not that available.
On top of that, the wide array of messenger apps and programs and sites makes it possible for almost any modern device to chat with any other.
That's great. What's your point?
Also, this doesn't. She said that unless you chose to go and speak to somebody, then you are alone. You can turn your thing off, you know? You can throw your phone into the trash. You can turn off the computer.
She
can be alone.
Oh. She's a woman. She can't turn off a telecommunication device.
Listen, woman is not a valid excuse for everything, Wisp.
Well, it's kind of a good point to say in a story. Why doesn't the character turn off their phone, get in their car, and go the opposite direction? Like, why don't they do that? So you have to give a good reason why the character is the right person for the scene to take place in. because in the back of your head, like, get out of the scary mansion, get out of the hole in the woods, like, get the hell out of here. But there has to be a good reason why they're there, to stay. And that's what the story should be constantly addressing to the audience, saying, no, they have to save their daughter. They have to go after their lover. They have to go find out what happened to their mom. Like, there has to be some good reason, which is a plot. See, it doesn't matter if it's a physical problem or a telecommunication problem or I don't know, a signaling issue. Like, it doesn't matter what the issue is. Why are they there? To make all other possibilities seem irrelevant. That's what we need, not, oh, we've got phones, but no one's using them, or the signal's cut, so I can't, and what do I do? I'm so worried. It's like, it's not really a huge problem. You're going to go do the thing you wanted to do anyway. Focus on that, get to your destination, and then go from there. So this is, I'm not sure where she's going with this, actually. I'm kind of confused.
So a desktop computer can chat with a cell phone, can chat with a tablet, no problem, giving people even more ways to stay in contact regardless of what specific device they might have access to. And of course, if you have an iPhone, you can text somebody with an Android, etc., etc. The world is more connected than it has ever been, and that invisible paradigm is reflected in the stories we tell. Even the ones set in fantastical other worlds are spec-fic futures. When it comes to communication, the assumed state of normal.
What the hell is spec-fic?
Speculative fiction.
Oh, it's a genre? Okay, fair enough. All right.
It's like speculative.
Just say the word, please.
Fiction.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, God.
Speculative
fiction is a dumb word, by the way.
I thought that was like special fiction or like Spanish or something. What the hell is that? Spic-fic or something?
What are you? You one of them spic-fic writers?
Yeah, something like that. We're getting ethnical here. What's ethnic? Yeah.
Oh God! Don't say that in German. It sounds very lewd.
Okay, all right. There is a thing called spic-fic back in the day, but anyway.
Spec-fic?
Yeah, there were writings for people in Germany and the Spaniards and all parts of Europe that were just for those people. But, we don't like using those words anymore.
It was just, I think we just called that science fiction.
Yeah, probably. Anyway.
Spec-fic.
Being able to contact somebody was a deviation from the norm. You had to send a letter or a telegram or a phone call or an email, and they had to be in the right place or at the right time to receive it. Now we tend to assume that if we can't get in contact with somebody almost immediately, something is wrong.
No.
What is this?
That's just you crazy narcissists who always need attention from everyone.
Some people who are older don't like telecommunications. They don't have a cell phone. So what do you do?
Yeah.
No, even if you have your phone on you're usually not going to have it constantly make noise.
Yeah,
unless you're doing something else.
Some people who don't have cell phones are in the garden. They don't give a shit. Even if you call them, they don't care.
Yeah. Red, you know what pisses me off so much about your normie generation getting onto the internet? You treat what would you call this? Asynchronous communication as if it has to be immediate communication. Where you have your instant messaging thing like Telegram or Signal or whatever else, or even Twitter, as you write something and then you expect others to reply immediately as if it's a verbal communication right next to you. And if you don't get the answer within 5 seconds, you're going, oh, why are you not talking to me? Why are you not talking to me? Do you hate me now? Do you hate me? When? Should we break up? Like, fuck you.
Well, if she could write a script that doesn't require garbage and she could actually edit her own ideas, she says nothing for the past 5 minutes. We're sitting here going, what is the topic? She's just talking and communicating from 50 years ago to now, and there's no substance. It's just, I think when we had words, we used words and we talked to each other and we used voices to talk the words out. It's like, yes, Red, yes, we get it. We understand communication. What are you trying to say?
Maybe their battery died, or they're stuck somewhere with no reception, or their phone was destroyed, or they're out of
Oh
commission
my-
and can't answer.
Or they
A
hate
million
you.
things could have gone wrong to knock them off the grid, but that's only worrying to us because the assumption is that they should be on the grid at all times. And modern stories have started to reflect that. Aside from stories set in the nominal present, where characters just
Why, every single time, regardless of what the topic is, you gotta bring up the triangle of bullshit. Your fucking Steven Universes, your Legend of Korra, or Avatars, or your fucking Owl Houses.
Was that character always black?
I'm convinced she never passed grade school English. This is no way to write an essay. This is no way to effectively communicate ideas. This is insane. This is like me reading a book, and instead of giving you the Cole's notes or the summary, I'm just going to read you the book the way that I read it. And I have amazing memory, and it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. And I'm just going to start rambling about what I learned and how I felt and how it makes me think of something in the past that I happened to do and how it might be related. And I'll just keep going and going and going. And by the time I'm done, it's 5 hours later, and you're like, what the hell am I talking about? This is crazy.
This is not autism.
there are tons of stories that control characters to stay in almost constant communication over long distance.
What was it I said? It's gonna be Steven Universe. It's gonna be fucking Owl House.
Yeah.
And then she shows Owl House back to back with Steven Universe. No, maybe it's not that we are changing towards reflecting having cell phones. Maybe it's just because it's the same 4 or 5 writers working on the same fucking stories within California, huffing each other's farts.
I want to know who this video is for. Like, is this isn't for writers. This isn't for watchers. This isn't for critics. Like, what is this?
This is like, I know. I think I know. This is like these top 10 lampposts in World of Warcraft videos, where the audience is the people who play the game, know all of this anyway, and don't have to think. And that's the audience. People who don't want to think, who don't have to think, but if they watch, they feel like, oh yeah, cool, yeah, I know that.
Like, this is me trying to teach you how to go up some stairs. It's like, well, you have legs. If you don't have legs, well, it's going to be very difficult. You might have to use your feet, maybe your hands, maybe like a baby. You're crawling. When you're a baby, you don't remember, but when you were a baby, you have to crawl everywhere. That involves like blah, 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 blah. It's like, holy jeez, what the hell am I talking about?
Don't forget to install a lifter.
This is insane. This is like, honey, what are you what is your point here? What do you? Is this just I am girl? I like words.
I'm waiting for her video on breathing.
May as well.
Right, I'm gonna go breathe downstairs while I'm making dinner. You guys enjoy yourselves.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Hey, do you know how breathing works and how it changed evolution? And if you can't do it, it's really bad for you. And that's how plot happens, like in a submarine.
Hey.
Ooh, what a trope. Breathing.
All right. Well, I want to get to a point very soon because I am hurting right now.
Back in 2008, already had earbuds that are basically invisible hands-free phones. Young Justice kicked off the very first season in 2010 by giving the team a telepathic link maintained almost constantly by Ms. Martian that was basically a fancier group chat. The nominally historical low magic setting of Netflix's Castlevania adds magic mirrors in the second season that are basically used for FaceTime and, let's be honest, felt a little bit weird.
That's because it's uncreative hack shit. Like all this modern crap and all these modern adaptations that just ravage the corpses of brands that should just have a rest.
Yeah, there was lots of stuff in Castlevania which probably didn't need to be there, but you know, they could have done so much with that library and they didn't. But
yeah,
fine, whatever.
On the mirror thing, the first time one is shown, it's like the super rare super artifact. And then later, everyone has it.
Some guy in the desert is selling one. You're like, what?
Okay. Yeah, and then everyone has one because you can just call everyone because everyone has it.
Yeah. If they brought in the librarian, I think that would have been awesome.
It's just, but, you know. it's just lazy writing.
Well, it's
I don't want to teleport the characters all over. That our characters now over there. Like,
they
just
could
have them make cell phone calls.
They could have used the librarian, I thought, because everyone knows the librarian from the game, and it would have been fun because he's a goofy guy and he's like selling him shit. He's like, I can't help the master. Like, oh, you got money? Like, okay, here you go. And he just sells Alucard a bunch of crap. That would have been funny. But no, it's got to be a magical communication mirror device that the villain also gets. Anyway.
18's She-Ra had communicators that are basically something can be contrived out of the magic or tech to allow for constant instant communication between protagonists even when they're far away.
Wow.
And this is a reasonable development. After all, it's incredibly convenient for the writers and the characters, and since being out of communication is so risky and inconvenient, it makes sense that the characters would want to find a way to stay in touch.
Oh, you mean the writer actually has to learn how to make scenes entertaining without having constant communication? Wow, what a concept. What would a writer do without cell phones? Actually write
like
well.
It's like the radio guy in World War One.
Is anyone there? No. Go away, do your job.
Or magic or gadgets made by tech geniuses. Plans, find each other if they're missing, call for help when they're in a tight spot to enable dramatic rescues, and someone breaking communication can be a great way to facilitate instant drama. Not to mention, letting the villains coordinate over long distances can make it much easier to give the heroes trouble, so even if the heroes are fairly low-tech, giving the villains scrying technology or hologram phones or something is pretty classic stuff to contrive more complicated challenges for the good guys. In the history of literature and storytelling, bad guys got magic cell phones a lot earlier than good guys. Plus, if the writer wants to make it impossible for the characters to communicate, it's not hard to contrive something like a jammer or a psychic bad vibes field or something to temporarily cut off communication and force the characters to operate in isolation again, with the added tension that since it's no longer the expected norm, they're not accustomed to it. It turns out giving your characters the ability to communicate instantly across long distances doesn't destroy the drama
and therefore justifies her scrambling.
It just changes the circumstances under which miscommunication or limited information plots happen. And frankly, I think a lot of this is just easier for
limited information plot. What the hell are you talking about?
That's the thing of people not communicating fully. So
because of distance? What?
Because of whatever. It can't just be. This is what I brought up before. When they're at least far away, you have a reason at least why that happens. But there's a lot of plots that happen because the characters just refuse to talk with each other when they could at all times because they're in the same room. But, oh no, I'm embarrassed to say the thing.
Yeah,
it's like the Bayonetta 3 subplot had that in it. It's just disgusting.
Wouldn't even call him Dad.
Entire romance stories are based off the woman not expressing what she wants, even though she knows what she wants. She won't say what she wants, and we have to wait 2 hours or 2 days, whatever you're reading, to get to what's going on. So this is...
Someone in chat is mentioning the Ravens in season 8 of Game of Thrones were basically instant communication.
Well, that's warging, right? You can take over. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, there weren't instant communications in the beginning. In the beginning, they worked properly by taking time to fly somewhere, and in season 8, it was just instant communication.
All right, I was thinking of the ability for what's his face to just go into another person's body. And
that was something else.
And, control them. So
that's just a scrying trick, basically.
Yeah,
but when they change something that physically takes time still to instant communication, that just shows you that they don't really wanna write plot anymore.
Anyway, God, this is horrible.
Yes,
modern writers because. Used to being able to just without that ability. The way we think about communication.
Like, I would rather listen to my 5-year-old nephew ramble on about Lego bricks than listen to her about story. Like, there's no value you're going to get out of this. As if you're a critic, a writer, or a reader, there's nothing.
A 5-year-old nephew is at least discovering the world.
He's making he created an object with his brain and his hands. And it's like, wow, This is like, hey, I looked at a book or a movie and stuff happened in it. And you're like, what? That doesn't help anyone. This happened in a movie with the guy with a cell phone. You're like, yeah, and
It's hard to imagine a narrative without communication and how that would work.
Yeah, this
Silly Red. Is this where we're going?
Yeah,
where we are justifying phone implementation and narratives?
Yeah, she categorized communication into 3 groups, which is magic, telepathy, and technology. And I'm like, and what's your point? This is like describing how wet the water is in Waterworld, the movie. It's like, look at the water. It's moving.
How dangerous the water characterized in a setting can really tell a lot about the drama that's going to be in such story. Thanks, Red. What's your point?
It's just like, yeah, we get it. It's called Waterworld. People have cell phones. People can communicate through telepathy. Like, what are you getting at? Like, what is the point of this? Come on.
We want to check in with a friend. We gone whack. Panic? No, that's dramatic. Of course there are other ways to reach them, but those ways require more thought, more information, and are less readily and immediate.
Go fetch a fucking email.
Can we just
simple email?
Can we just jump ahead? Because I don't think there's going to be anything.
There's not going to be anything.
This is going to be
different.
the entire video.
Friends from that animal's cry. This is hilarious, and I literally can't.
I don't care.
Oh, now we talk about Dune. Okay.
Yeah, no, there's no point.
Oh. Why was this video sent?
I don't. There's nothing. She's just
The
rambling.
red video.
She's rambling. She's not even talking about a trope. What trope is she talking about? Which one?
Talking with each other.
There are tropes about how cell phones work in almost impossible areas, like there's no cell phone coverage. Or I remember watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
in caves.
Well, yeah, Jenna is like this alternate dimension, and she's using her cell phone to like a dictaphone, I think. And the reason why it's still working is Fitz put like a super battery in there, which is impossible, but fine. Okay, this guy is a techno genius, and you're like, all right, he got the.
Yeah, but that's just energy. That's not. It's just
it's not impossible to rationalize, but to make a battery just for fun is like, okay, that's kind of crazy. Like you need all these basic rare earth minerals and manufacturing process and all that jazz. Why isn't this video not playing? Holy shit.
8,000 years of space exploration and drug-induced. Nobody thought of a better way to send a text. This is where we start getting into the dubious.
That's because
suspension of
technology is looked down upon in Dune.
Heresy in Dune.
Red, have you read the fucking book? You
No, she
illiterate
hasn't.
fraud.
I don't believe for a second that you read the fucking book. You don't even need to read any of the appendixes at the end of the book that explains the entire setting.
Yeah,
everything
and
that plays into the story. You don't even need to read that to understand that heck bad.
Yeah, and the trilogy isn't even that big. They're way bigger books than Dune.
They had radios in Dune. Like they had all kinds of communication devices. What is she talking about? What? There were planetary communications. There was planetary to ship communications. There was all kinds of communication. It was all. I remember them talking through the radio through the ornithopters and the bases, and they were talking between the sitches. The shuttles were like, what do you? Anyway.
Explanations we can come up with for why communications tech didn't really manifest in the Dune universe, but they're
did.
retroactive
There
justifications
was
for
some.
There's a lot. There are some people that fucking technology though, and they don't use it. You can't use them as an example of, why didn't they just invent something better? How do you think ships work?
How did
in
you
the Dune universe?
Yeah, how did the Imperium communicate to itself? Oh, there's a thing called ComNet. Oh. This is silly. Like, did she read the books?
the fact it's fine. Speaking of of Larry Niven's
Yeah, but Tyler Preston, in the chat, she has to talk about the books because she claims to be a literary connoisseur who read the Odyssey and the Iliad and Journey to the West and all of that stuff. So she can't be talking about any movie adaptation. She has to be talking about the books. We can't expect her to have read the books when she's talking about these things, because all of these are classics, treasures of humanity.
Yeah,
And she hasn't.
and that's
Specifically, she references an image from the books, or a depiction from an event from the books.
Yeah, I mean, there's the actual. We all know the crazy navigators that they could communicate to each other through their minds, but they had all kinds of devices that had radio signals between planets. So, what the? I can't remember what it was called, but I mean, I have to reference a few things, but they had all these like references to not the weirding way, but they try to explain it with like certain waves of energy. So there was like some techno-magical explanation for it. I don't remember what it was called, but it is there. I mean, they have it. This is like basic science fiction stuff to explain how this stuff works. Like when you get into the weirding way, that's when it gets really weird because of the techno way that because the mothers or the sisters didn't have to do that, but the Atreides developed the sonic technology that uses that. So it's like a version of it, and they have to use that to showcase how they fought their wars and how they fought the Harkonnen. So I think you guys, even if you guys have not watched the movies or played or read the books, even if you played the original Dune too, they go into how the Atreides have the sonic technology and the Harkonnen have these big tanks, and the Ordos have like nerve toxin or something gas. Like there's all kinds
in the
of
game. Yes, the orders were. I think they were invented for the game.
I don't. There are a bunch of weird houses in Dune, but I don't remember them in the books.
Yeah, but the orders was not a major house.
Yeah, it was referenced. That was about it. Anyway,
Should we
Larry
just
Niven-
drop this?
I'm pretty close. Yeah, let's just see what other stupid shit she says.
Story called Becalmed in Hell, where spacefaring characters exploring Venus communicate through radio, and then when they're back on Earth, use telegrams. 1966 was a big year for sci-fi because we got Star
Here we
Trek.
go.
Star Trek's communicators allowed crew members to communicate with each other and the ship, but longer distance.
It took 6 minutes out of a 33-minute video for her to bring up one of the most famous examples of forward fingers
Yeah, this
within
is
literature
this
for
is
telecommunication.
yeah. We talk about advances in technology we're inspired by. Science fiction. Star Trek is one of the big ones. Going to the moon, etc. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's not even that great of an invention. It's just the oh god, what was the word? That the technology that was already available, like radio communication, was just made smaller. That's all.
Yeah, like it's such a common thing, especially in fiction, like speculative sci-fi or what ifs. Like Atomic Knight. I think it was DC comic back in like the 50s had this style of communication that they could carry around with them. Like this stuff is nothing new.
Miniaturization? Minimization?
But longer distance communication wasn't really discussed, and since the characters are rarely far from the Enterprise, it's difficult to know the practical range. That said, Star Trek was actually really good about the characters typically staying in contact with each other, or at least having the option to, in large part because it was drawing on the real-world forays into space exploration, where astronauts would rely on radio to maintain constant communication with their ship.
Because they're military, they need contact with one another. That's also very important, but go on.
And limited their options. So while the crew of the went on an away mission seems like a big leap forward, it was actually following in the footsteps of real-world technology, because that's what real-world astronauts were already having to do. On the flip side of things, Ursula K. Le Guin's novel Rocannon's World coined the concept of an Ansible, a device that specifically facilitated instant communication across interstellar distances regardless of light speed constraints. This allowed her to world-build a loose interstellar civilization that maintained large-scale communication, but not small-scale contact on a personal level, so our characters were still mostly operating in isolation or on a person-to-person scale. 1968 was another big year for sci-fi since it gave us 2001: A Space Odyssey, which was neat in a lot of ways, but for our purposes is only really cool because it showed us what 1968 thought the future of phone booths would look like.
No.
A lot like regular phone booths, but now with...
That's what you get out of that? Really? Phone
because
booths.
it serves the purposes right now. In reference
She's
to
just
how we
randomly-
imagine phones.
She's just randomly naming things. God. See, this is Red. You're just rambling. If you were autistic, you would have some red thread going through all this and building towards something.
Yeah,
but you're not. You're just randomly naming things.
They had like nuclear-powered spaceships. They had like 10-digit phone numbers. They had all kinds of things in that show. The AI control, like supercomputers, like all kinds of stuff. But you could sit down and have a video conference.
Again, I think this is one of the big problems with Trope Talk is that it feels like there's no consistent point with Trope Talk. Like sometimes she's covering how the tropes are used in fiction and how some stereotypes of these tropes are negative, like she did with robots, and how she says that robots being portrayed as lacking or understanding of emotion is a negative stereotype for autists, which is fucking ridiculous to me.
What?
But
Well,
whatever.
I mean, this would be like me pedantically saying, well, they have these booths where you could have video conferences from people on Earth or whatever, but they don't have cell phones. It's like, I don't think Kubrick cares. Like, that's not how the story was written, and why bother going into that detail? Like, what is your point? Wow, not everything that was in Star Trek became reality yet. Like, we haven't controlled antimatter. We haven't gotten to that stage yet in our development. Okay, fair enough. What's your point? We can go anywhere with technology and science fiction. We're prognosticating what's going to happen. What's the point? What's the point here? And this scene is not that relevant to the movie. It's not even plot and thing. It's just it's like the scene with the pen on the frickin'. He's sleeping and his pen goes, ooh, there's no gravity in space. The waitress comes by or the stewardess comes by and puts it back in his pocket. That's like a 2-minute scene for no reason. It's like, why did Kubrick do that? I don't know.
Tyler Preston just brought up smoke signals.
Fucking Indians were ahead of the time. They were ahead of the curve.
Dude, and don't forget about the Romans at the watchtowers at Elimes, where if something happened, one would give a light signal, and the next tower would get a light signal and relay it and relay it and relay it, so the entire Limes was put into alarm. Yay! Remote communication. Wow. Much technology.
I'm trying to remember if there's a joke about becoming a Royal Canadian Mounted Police. You have to learn semaphore, which are the art of communicating with two flags. No, I think it's an ongoing joke because obviously nowadays you don't have to learn that. But
I think that wasn't that a Navy thing in ancient times?
Probably, yeah. I'm trying to remember. It was a big joke on. We have this show called Due South about 20 years ago, if not more. And there's a few scenes where the Mounties are communicating because they're far away, but they can see each other and they're waving their arms around. It's all semaphore. I was like, that's not real. Come on.
There was a joke in Asterix in where a seagull landed on the feathered helmet of a Roman soldier who was doing the flag waving signals thing, and it irritated him so much that he tried to get off the seagull and accidentally gave so many weird signals that the entire Roman fleet crashed itself. Beautiful scene. Beautifully animated.
Okay.
Videos is a brief glimpse of Picturephones that allowed for video calls from the orbiting space station down to Earth. The character uses a public Picturephone booth for a small fee, but is clearly calling a personal Picturephone in his house. This mirrored a bit of real tech that AT&T would try and fail to launch in 1970, innovatively called the Picturephone. Basically a corded phone with a small television screen on top and presumably a camera built into the chunky top part of the screen. It was a very popular idea that video...
Where's the trope talking? You're just saying the trope.
Yeah, remember?
Please, slow down.
Remember we got this on, what was that talk show? The first time. Well, it wasn't the first time, but it was the first time it was made popular. Video conferencing. Not Whitney. What the hell's her name? Oprah. There, the Oprah show. Oh my God, you can do video calls? What? That's like, yeah, that's great.
Video calls would be the telecommunication future, but the hardware just wasn't where it needed to be for public use, and of course if the person you were talking to didn't also have a picture phone, there was really no benefit, so it flopped pretty hard. 1969 was an even bigger year for sci-fi because it saw the real, actual moon landing. This is a great...
This is retarded. What are you doing? Honey.
She's just randomly saying everything and not Red. I'm telling you, maybe because you believe all these weird bullshit things about yourself because you read them on Tumblr or some SJWs told you about them. I've known lefties who randomly started believing that they're autistic. Red, just in case you are not. So don't try to emulate the symptoms of autism because you fail at it. You're just rambling bullshit. You're just bad.
Yeah, I'm going to make a video topic, guys. It's going to be the history of technology that involves communication through fiction and real life. I'm going to talk about the moon landing and various forms of stories that involve science fiction and fantasy. We're going to talk about telepathy and magic. And it's like, what?
Great. That sounds great, Smudge. Just don't call it fucking trope talk.
Yeah, and... Red, there's a thing that lots of therapists get wrong, by the way, and mess up, and therefore misdiagnose people both ways around. That's the way and the why that autists talk and that narcissists talk. Autists talk a lot because they want to get something across. They want to be understood and they want to understand. Narcissists just talk a lot, usually out of some orifice that shouldn't be used for talking, to hear themselves talk and to make themselves look good. Which of the two are you more close to?
All right, here we go. We're at 26 minutes. I just zoomed ahead because I'm tired of this.
And Nitrome and 5 million tiny fanfic forums that we definitely never did. And every few grades...
Okay, can we just stop?
Yeah, this is that was retarded.
Even her jokes fail.
Covered cheeseburgers, fan fiction size. What is? Genuinely, what is this? I understand why it's 33 minutes now. There's nothing here.
Look at the last 2 minutes. Maybe she's making some crazy shit there. Let's go to 30 minutes or 31 or something.
All right.
Extreme online mega bias. That's a perfect frame.
Yeah, we could just screen cap that. I'd be happy.
I think her face is fitting here.
It looks like you walked in on her while she was naked.
Would she care? Claiming to be asexual?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
The question
If
is,
you do, you're not.
The question is, would I care? And I'd be like, oh.
You just walk out.
All right, let's go.
personally gotten very used to doing the bulk of my communication online. My experience is nowhere near universal, and my normal is probably a lot more online than some of yours. But regardless of my many biases that I can only do so much to compensate for when writing this script, this overall shift in the space of fiction is very real and very noticeable. Stories have been incorporating more and more telecommunication magitech and making it more and more accessible for its characters.
Magitech? Are we in Final Fantasy VI?
Yeah, magical technology that is not explained. It just is there and works.
This was, as I mentioned with Atomic Knights, this has been a thing in science fiction and a weird tale for a very, 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 very long time. Including the little FaceTime.
And look, she even brought it up. The Lord of the Rings had it. That's a big old story. The Grimm's fairy tales had it.
Fuck. Like, wouldn't the Greeks count, since the gods can just open up like a little two-way communication to people?
Yeah, they had...
What's with the burning bush thing?
What a burning bush?
Well, no, they were the... this is what the name of a tech company is called, Palantir, which is the magical crystal balls from Lord of the Rings. So, yeah, we've known about these things for a while now, Red, fantasy or otherwise. So,
and we've used them so fucking long. There's just some series which make it very obvious it's just a fantasy or sci-fi version of what we already have.
Yeah.
Because it's already supposed to feel like this could take place in our current day, but there's fantasy people that you can fantasize about wanting to fuck.
Yeah, this is... Imagine if she made another trope, I guess we're going to call it a trope video, it's not even a trope video, but she could use transportation devices like cars or wagons or horses and talked about the history of transportation and how we started with taxis or whatever, with the pulling wagons or whatever, with horses.
We'll talk about what you can expect to see within separate universe or settings. Like, you don't expect to see a race car in a Victorian setting. You don't expect a horse cart when you're in sci-fi. Stuff like that. That would be actual trope talk and how to use them and utilize them. Here, what are we getting out of this?
I don't understand who this is for. As I said, if it's a critic or a reader or a writer, I don't know what they're going to get out of it. I think it's just the fans of Red watch her crap and go, oh, wow, it's Red. And she's saying words.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And she's been doing this for years.
Here's my top 10 list of lampposts in World of Warcraft. Which I will tell you, that video had value because it showed you the artistic, creative effort that was put into the classic game. Because I designed different fitting lampposts for every area. This is nothing. Red, your video's worse than 10 lampposts of World of Warcraft. Congratulations.
All right. Well, we're almost done. Let's just see what other nonsense she's spouting.
As normal is starting to seep into the invisible substrate of fictional normalcy. And because of how central the concept of communication is in fiction, it is...
I don't want to go back to hear what the fuck she just said. I'm just going
fictional
to say,
normalcy?
Substrate.
This is nonsense. You need to redraft, Red. You desperately need to redraft.
I don't believe that this was a script.
If anyone ever says the term fictional substrate to you, just get out of the room. Just stop.
No, she said fictional normalcy.
It was substrate.
She said
right,
substrate.
Now
did she say both?
Back.
Oh,
Let's
God.
its characters. The level of interconnectivity we now think of as normal is starting to seep into the invisible substrate of fictional normalcy. And because of how central...
Invisible
the invisible substrate of fictional normalcy. Okay.
What is that?
Fictional normalcy is something I can accept as a term.
What does that even mean then? What, your fictional normalcy is going to be different than my fictional normalcy because I've read different books than you do.
No. The fictional normalcy is what is normal to the characters in the setting.
Yeah,
like
of
the
the book
opening
you've-
line of Neuromancer.
Yeah, of
But
only the book
sky,
you've read.
the sky is the color of their TV channel.
The setting is defined as whatever the writer gives you, as that's the setting. That's normal. That's right. I get that.
But the invisible substrate.
Yeah, if you read a different science fiction book than I do, then my understanding of cyberpunk is going to be different than yours. So it's like, all right, well, I think cyberpunk is Japanese. It's like, no, it's Asian. No. It's like, okay.
All right, so Old Man Kim asks, is it possible that she might be trying and failing, but trying nonetheless, to say that old writers dreamt of ways to communicate quickly, while today's writers can't imagine a setting or world in which constant communication doesn't happen? That might be where she's going. I wouldn't be able to tell you because she spent the last 30 minutes saying absolute jack shit.
You might say that's what a writer would get out of this, but because she had this bizarro history lesson with fiction, I don't know. Like, she showed frickin' 2001 Space Odyssey. Like, what the hell? Why bring that up? That it was influential not because of its ideas, but because of the way it was presented as a movie. I don't think people look at that and go, well, we're going to have space stations and we're going to have people flying to the moon on a holiday. Like, maybe, but not now. So it might be relevant in a discussion 100 years from now, maybe, but not now. So it's not relevant. It's not like she's bringing up stuff that a high schooler, if they did a presentation on communication in history and fiction, this is not like they wouldn't do stupid crap. They might have a slide on a PowerPoint for about 10 seconds, but they wouldn't devote 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's the intelligence level that Red is trying to appeal to, while also being bad at summarizing a topic to be able to convey it to a 5-year-old.
Like, imagine she did a PowerPoint. Imagine she actually did not have all this stupid shit and YouTube crap. And she's like, okay, I got to do a PowerPoint about whatever. Give me 10 minutes, here we go. She would be more concise and actually have a point to end on outside of, I'm going to lay down on my ass and just start talking. Apparently making a script, I guess. Maybe she has a dictaphone. Who knows how her script writing works? She just rambles on. Doesn't edit it. Just goes, this is perfect. Let me get some images. And that's half an hour later. Here we go. It's
Mike, I would like to hear your input on this.
On this thing?
On this video, our existence, if you will, anything. Because you have been very quiet this entire stream. And I would like to confirm that you are in fact not dead.
All right.
Thank you, Mike. That was fantastic. All right.
I mean, it's like I don't know what to say with this video.
Yeah, there's nothing there. I know. All right. Well, I mean, let's just finish it off. Hopefully she'll say thank you to her sponsors or whatever.
The concept of communication is in fiction, it is changing a lot of stuff. And even if it doesn't stick out too much, we still notice. It itches in our brain a little, not because it's out of place.
How did you manage to make your doodle icon even more soulless than your current icon sitting in the stool? Or sitting in the sofa, whatever.
For when is this video?
When was this made?
Yeah.
This month.
This month?
Yep.
Maybe she got inspired by seeing the Baby Mario characters again.
Oh god.
With the oblong beady eyes, and now she's just doing it to an extreme.
Well, she's got gigantic eyebrows. On the
That's
right.
not a face. That's a fucking outlet.
Yeah.
Oh my my god, you're right!
Holy shit, Red! What were you thinking?
You can put your USB in there.
No, I can't unsee it.
Well, with the eyes on the right, it looks like the glare is burning a triangle in the top part of her eye. Like I've seen like Sailor Moon eyes where they're really glossy and they got this reflection going.
That on the right is just evil reptile alien eyes.
I don't know what that white part is supposed to be. If it's glare, then it doesn't look right. It's too bright.
It's a glare mixed with the pupil, and it looks wrong.
Zoom in on a Sailor Moon because Naoko Takeuchi does a lot of weird, crazy eyes, and you'll see the glare with another glare with light flare, and then little color of the eye, and then all these other little things. So that's when you have a lot of real estate to work with. But this is like, honey, if you have that much glare in your eye, you are blinding yourself. Anyway.
It makes sense to us that our characters should be able to reach out to each other the way we reach each other. It only feels a little bit weird because we're not used to seeing it, and that maybe makes us wonder why we're not used to seeing it. We're used to cracking jokes about how this plot would have never happened if the heroes had cell phones, or God forbid.
Are you retarded, honey? If you see people in a fictional story communicating telepathically, and you go, "Wow, I've never seen people communicate telepathically before. I must be watching a movie." You're normal. If you're speculating why this is such a weird experience because you've never communicated telepathically before, and that's the end of your thought process, you might be a moron.
Anyone, etc. It's slowly becoming more and more harder and harder to notice. I started
Silence of pain.
There's nothing slow about the normalcy for her of the interwoven fictional normalcy of the quantum brainwaves of instant communication. There's nothing odd about it. What's odd is how it is used. There's something for you to talk about, how it is used. Not just that it is in fiction.
I'm just thinking about
You shallow cunt.
Mike's comment about a wall socket. If you just imagine those two eyes as dots, I'd be like, hey, that's a cute face. Chibi, whatever, sketch. Now it looks just creepy as hell.
No, it's just a two-prong plug outlet.
I this script because I caught myself doing this in my own work without thinking. I invented a simple magic.
I believe that you don't think.
Was there at any point where the brain turned on?
I invented a simple magical message network and gave my protagonist access. Are you trying to tell me you created some sort of Slack or Discord channel in your medieval fantasy story without thinking? Because you're so uncreative and dumb, you couldn't make up your own form of magical communication. You had to create like this weird like pop-up in the middle of space. Like you watch it, like you read an isekai and there's like a status box or something of the character. Only this time it's a chat window. And you didn't even think about it? You just nonchalantly I'll just make my chat window here. And you're like, oh, why am I doing that? I find that very hard to believe. She was completely ignorant of what she was doing.
I would have adored her version of what's the evil wizard in Lord of the Rings? Why am I blanking on him?
Saruman?
Saruman, thank you. Saruman. Like her version of Saruman literally just pulls up a fucking iPad to talk to Sauron.
Oh, wait a second. They have Palantirs in Lord of the Rings. Why am I bringing an iPad? Oh, right. They don't have iPads in Lord of the Rings. I'm a moron.
Well, you can't imagine a world in which you don't use an iPad.
Oh,
the
God.
Palantir is just... It's so retro.
Oh, my God.
Just use a rotary phone.
Oh, this girl.
and gave my protagonist access to it because it made sense for it to exist and be fairly readily available considering the world building I'd already established, and why not do it, right? It'd make a lot of plot points easier for me to arrange. And then I realized that, without even thinking about it, I'd made it a lot harder for myself to write a ton of those nice, comfortable tropes.
Yeah, I don't think she's a writer. I'm sorry, we're done.
Yeah, Red, you think too highly of yourself.
I want to see if he'll last 30 or
At
so
this
decades,
age,
if you were allowed, because
if you make these realizations at this age you're at now,
There is something, okay.
you're lost.
If
You
you're-
are just.
If you're making a fantasy story that has all of a sudden Slack, and you're thinking, wait, why did I invent Slack in my fantasy story? You're not a writer. You are not even worthy of talking about writing. You are a faker. What was the word here? A liar? You're making like this is so
A
stupid.
child.
I don't know.
This
Like,
is how a child writes. This is
maybe-
how you learn to come up with ideas and put them together before you reach a 2-digit age.
this is the retard at the edge of lecture hall. They're not even in the hall. They're outside and they're like, I wonder what they're talking about inside. I'll start drawing on the walls with my crayon to figure out what communication means. And it's like, honey, what do you stop doing graffiti? Like, what are you doing? Do you want to write? Learn to write. It's not hard. You don't say, well, when I was writing my amazing character last night, he had 2 feet. I didn't even think about it. Why did I give him 2 feet? I mean, he could have 3. Why? Like, I don't know. Why didn't you give him 3? It's your character. You can do whatever the hell you want. It's not difficult. Why are you having this inner monologue battle with yourself about your own ideas? Why are you writing in the first place, honey? Something is off here. So this is really turning me off. This is not how writers think. Even if you're a bad writer, even if you don't know what you're doing, you don't just start. You don't have an internal, introspective look at communication. How does it work? I didn't realize I was inventing Slack in my fantasy novel. That's impossible.
So we skipped over a lot of stuff, but I very much doubt she ever brought up the Wheel of Time books, because as we can now guess, Red doesn't actually read, while she pretends to, because in that series, the characters don't have magical communication at first. There's some eavesdropping tricks and such, but that's it. But over time, and by the end of the book, mainly of the book series, the magic building characters have developed several means of remote communication. Which is, one is they meet in the world of dreams, so it's basically they need to be asleep. Most of them need a magical item that helps them get there because they naturally can't, while others have trained to do so on their own. And then they meet there and talk. But if they wake up, they're not in the dream call anymore, if you will. But the bad guys can also get in there because it's basically just your mind in a different dimension. And even later on, they after they've played around enough with the rediscovered portal technology, some come up with the idea, hey, wait a minute, can't I just use this to make a really small portal to talk to someone? And then they do that. And it's changing the way that everything works. That's interesting.
Well,
I don't think that she would have brought that up because that's too complicated for her very large brain.
I don't know if she's actually read science fiction, but when she brought up Ursula K. Le Guin, I thought, okay, that's at the top of many feminist author books to read. Like, well, there's a few of them, but I would bet she might have at least perused one of her books. And if you guys haven't read her books, she does amazing science fiction. I think her most famous is The Left Hand of Darkness, which is a short story book or a series of short stories in a series of books she's wrote, or a series in the short story book. That's really good. So if you guys get anything out of this, go read Ursula K. Le Guin, The Left Hand of Darkness. That will make you feel a lot better. It's a cool story. Anyway,
communication. And then I started questioning where this disconnect in easy for me to create this plot device without even thinking about it.
Not a plot device.
And only then noticing the enormous consequences of introducing that level of
Because you're not
interconnectivity
a
into my
conscious
otherwise
being, you are
largely
a
low-tech
narcissist.
fantasy setting drawn from all my most beloved fantasy tropes that were invented back when the cordless telephone was science fiction. This is so weird to me.
Okay, we're done. This is so dumb. I cannot believe this. That was a bunch of rambling nonsense.
And now she's amazed by her own mind.
I found
Red,
a red line. I found a red line.
Yeah, it's on the screen. Red, you are not smart. You are not creative. You are barely conscious.
I would love to read one of her books just to see how ridiculous it is. Like this is like reading The Room, or like the not the screenplay of The Room, the book version of The Room. Like this is like this retarded. I have all these tropes. Let's throw them together. Let's get the girlfriend who cheats on the boyfriend, and this happens. You're like, oh my god.
We found the red line. Let's follow it. Let's see where this rabbit hole goes.
Oh,
Let's see if we go to Wonderland now.
Oh God.
I didn't want this script to be twice as long as my usual ones, but I couldn't get this out of my head. And this is just the main rabbit hole. The fact that social and technological norms invisibly infiltrate the fiction of its era, even if that fictional setting is completely divorced from reality, is a hugely interesting space of analysis at the root of everything from tokenized stereotypes to...
No, it's not. This is like saying, oh, because isekai has gaming conventions.
We found it. We found it, Smut. We found the point. We discovered it. We're the raiders of the lost plot point.
This is like saying because we're born or people are born and nowadays they're grow up in technology, they can't write anything else. They can't think of any ideas outside of the things they know. It's like they could read other books, maybe they can go to another part of the world where they don't have technology and go, wow, look at they live primitively. Wow, I could write about like this is stupid.
No. Don't you know what this is? This is Red's moment of standing in front of the wall with all the newspaper articles and photographs and all the pins and the red strings, and she's frantically telling us about all of it and her theory of everything.
Yeah, this is my first world problem.
No, guys. What she's just admitted is that she does not do research at all. She just admitted that she was making a fantasy setting, and without even thinking about it, she made iPads. She made Skype. She made Discord. Just subconsciously put that in there.
Yeah,
because not for a second did she immerse herself in a medieval setting.
I'm writing a story, guys, really. And I made a fantasy setting where they communicate with magic, but then I just didn't even think. I put in iPads. What? How did that get in there? I don't know.
Yeah, it's just all act like the here and now with excuse devices.
Yeah.
That the characters are all have all the means that we have.
They just...
That's not creativity, Red. That's just a reskin.
I can't imagine being physically in the world. And I'm really writing a fantasy novel. Yeah, I'm sure you are, honey. You got this planned out to a T. You got all your tropes lined up. I don't even know what kind of writer goes, you know what, guys? I've got all these tropes I want to write about. It's like no one ever like when you have an idea for a writer, when you have an idea for a story, you don't go, oh, I really like this character in some TV show. I'm going to write about that. That's stupid. You have a thing you want to get off your chest that's so pressing that you have this emotion. Now, how you get there is your business. I say write the setting first, write the ending second, and then all this other stuff. She's like, no, I got all these tropes. I'm going to write a book about tropes. It's in a fantasy setting. I was like, I don't think that's how anyone has ever wanted to write has written a book.
And not a good one.
It's like I'm having a eureka moment. I finally realized this woman cannot imagine a world in which people don't act like her. Her fantasy setting is so paper thin in its actual medieval setting and its medieval roots that she can just put an iPad in there subconsciously, and all the characters just act like she does.
Or the fact that she's not even thinking about it, like that's bizarre. That is
That she
obvious.
admitted that. This is smart. This is what I'm talking about when I say that people with narcissistic personality disorder have this weird behavior where they're basically telling you literally of the symptoms of narcissistic personality disorder, how the minds of a narcissist works, by telling you about how they function. That they're telling you in the face that they have the symptoms because they don't know what the symptoms are, so they think this is totally amazing. That's just how I am. And telling you in your face, I am emotionally, consciously retarded. It's amazing. Welcome, Red. You made it to 12 years old.
I understand now. This is why she always brings up Korra, Steven Universe, Owl House, She-Ra, all these shows that essentially have what we have today. Because she is just like these people that write these vapid fantasy stories, quote unquote, which are just skinned like a fucking Fortnite skin over the default body.
Yes. Those authors, those creators are narcissists who cannot write anything but narcissistic characters that are usually self-inserts. That's why they also marry Sues all the time, because that's how they see themselves or want to be, their power fantasies. And they're written for narcissists. And she loves it.
So much
Well, everyone with a halfway developed brain watches this stuff and eventually begins to think, wait a minute, something's wrong with this. This is horrible.
And it's so bad. It is such a brain rot upon her mind that she just tried to create She-Ra. Or Castlevania. She just tried to do that. Oh my god, this is beautiful! We found it! The red thread of 30 fucking minutes!
What? I've said it's that I think she's a narc a lot of times before.
Yes, and we found it. The evidence, the pure, right in your face evidence. She is a pure narcissist. It's perfect, Wisp.
Yeah. Well, stronger evidence. Let's say we had hints before.
Can you imagine like writing, I don't know, a few pages, maybe even a few paragraphs of a story, and then you're like, I gotta make a video about this, but I can't just talk about it. I gotta talk about my trope talk thing, so I gotta incorporate that somehow, and just ripping stuff out of random parts of history and fiction, and oh, this even happened to me. Yeah, I'm sure it did. I'm sure you were writing very succinctly, and you completely forgot about what you were writing about. That does not happen. Writers can write nonchalantly and just sort of, feeling, thought, whimsical ideas, poetic, and then go back and say, did I write that? That's weird. But inventing a technology in your fantasy setting, that is not even remote. This is like me inventing a spaceship and I forgot I made this gigantic 2-kilometer huge marvel in my fantasy story. Anyway,
I rather read another Murakami book than this.
Well,
whatever it is.
That goes without saying, but I mean, you'll at least get something out of it.
Yeah, but the thing I'm full of that stuff. I find this writing boring at this point. But this is worse. This is so much worse than being overfed with something that is decent.
This is the person that should never open their mouth in a writing circle or an English class, or because they're going to say something off the wall that has nothing to do with the topic or the lesson.
And now imagine the Star Wars writing group being full of Reds.
Well, these are people that like her. There's people watching this channel going, "Wow, this is great," and I'm like, "What do you do with your life, sir? That this is great for half an hour of your day."
Sitting in a writing room in Hollywood. That's what they do with their lives. That's why we only get garbage.
Yeah, well, anyway. Minute left. Let's get it over with.
Media telling has always been intrinsically political.
What?
And because we lose sight of what defines normal as it becomes invisible to us from over...
What did she just say?
Everything's political.
...visibly infiltrate the fiction of its era, always been intrinsically...
Storytelling has always been intrinsically political. Shut up, you fucking communist!
And because we lose sight
I know she's named Red, and it should have been on the fucking note, but I'm glad she actually admitted that she was sticking to that brand.
of what defines invisible to us from overexposure, it can be a mirror of fiction that's shifted without our noticing, something that we've lost context for, or something that's taken on new meaning from real-world developments, or something we're used to seeing handled or solved in a way that didn't exist when it was written. The world changes. We change. And because normalcy is entirely relative, we don't always realize how much things have changed until we catch a glimpse of what's become invisible to us. Because we're always on those dang phones, you know? Oh, God, I'm sorry. So, yeah.
No, that's you projecting.
That was not funny. That was not a
And
real
then
laugh.
she teleports out of her chair.
So yeah, there's no point to what you were trying to tell us. You just made a video to make money. I don't see any other value to this, aside from filling up some time for your fans. To hear
There was no script behind this. I do not believe that.
That was crazy.
And at the end, she throws in, here, random communism.
With Maggie Mae Fish, it's like she's got a topic and she rambles, but it's, the topic's in the ballpark, right? It's crazy, but it's in the ballpark. This is just, hey, how about that? How about this? How about this thing? Like, dear, where are you going with this? What's the point? Like, that was really dumb.
It's atrocious.
Okay.
I think I need to decompress from this. I just don't know how.
Yeah, I'm gonna do some pull-ups or something. Something, get my upper body going. My brain is like, what the?
I haven't watched the fourth season of Overlord yet. That has more literary value.
Oh.
Barely.
So we're at the stream memes.
That's my point, Lale. That's my fucking point.
Walking in on Red. Here we got the Copper Allen's wonderful Legos. I like how Red is a giant block with a lampshade for a head, or whatever you call that block. It's empty either way. Thank you. And he just leaves, leaves the room, which is any sensible activity. And then you come back with a spear. Maybe not a whale, but I get what you're trying to say. Just for Wisp, you could watch that. I'm not going to.
Oh, that's a beautiful scene from the Asterix movie. It's on YouTube, so it shouldn't be a problem.
There's the amazing wall socket.
I'm telling you, that does not look like a face. It looks like a fucking out. They both just flip for me.
And here's Lal's final. Oh my god. I've added Discord to my fantasy setting without even thinking about it. Her butchered setting. Why? Yeah.
Why did you add this?
Yeah. No. There's something completely disingenuous about what she was saying in the last 3 minutes. I was like, no, this didn't happen. There's no way you're right. Anyway, thank you guys. That was hell. Holy crap. That's like reading a book report from a person who
special ed
who read like 2% of the book, but like read it upside down. And it's like, oh, this is such a hard book to read. But what I did read, I reminded me of my time when I was hanging upside down and I was blah, blah, blah. And you're like, what? So you didn't read the book?
It's a special ed literature class.
Yeah, I don't know. This is... I get it when she does crazy, stupid shit on the topic. But this is just... This isn't a trope. This has nothing to do with fiction that I could derive from it aside from her own writing. And the history lesson was, like, what was the point of that? And we skipped a lot of it. It was, the first half was nothing.
Also, they're saying that you missed the first Lego.
Oh, sorry, man. Okay, well, I'll go back and look at it myself. But oh boy, that was. I feel tempted to say, Red, what the hell was that? But I know she's not going to reply, and that's pretty much all I would say to most of her videos anyway. So
I think my report on Monty Python and the Holy Grail was better when I wrote that in 3rd grade because I didn't understand the movie. That was just rambly stuff, and I got a C on it. It was my first C.
well,
This one would have failed her.
I didn't quite get it when I was a kid either because that's British comedy. It's a bit highbrow for
yeah.
those people.
Yeah, it's not a kids' comedy.
No, not at all.
Here's Monty Python, the highbrow comedy.
None of Monty Python is that.
But I'm sure that report still made more sense than what she did here.
Oh God, I hope so. Anyway, that was enough. Happy Friday, folks. I think it's Orthodox Easter this Sunday for some people. So have a good one. I think we might have a video tomorrow or Sunday. Maybe not, depending on what's happening. But yeah, I need a break. Got to go exercise, get some blood to my brain, and have a good one, hopefully. So
Build a pyre, roast a boar.
hunt a boar, then roast it with a spear.
Yeah, of course you first need to hunt it and you can roast it.
There you go. All right. Well, good night. Have a good one. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye bye.